Hi, I'm Abhinay Kumar Jain, Director Product-led Growth at CleverTap for Startups. Today I have Birma from BabyG, and we are going to have an interesting conversation. This is one of my favorite topic because here actually we are going to talk to an early stage founder, not only about their stories, it's also a story of how babies develop, right? So this is an early stage story of human beings as well. So that's something very interesting. Birma, welcome to CloudUp's Let's Talk Retention podcast. Very excited to have this conversation today with you. It would be good to first know more about you, about your personal journey, and then we can take from there.
Sure, Vinay. Thanks for the opportunity. Uh, I think I'll start with my own journey as with my career. So I started as a banker, and as soon as my education loan was paid off, I got into startups. So,
Awesome.
in nutshell, I always wanted to, build things from scratch, and building gives me joy. So, this is the third time I'm building something from scratch as a business. First, I started with a company called Shortlist that was on the web, and then I think India was picking up on the apps, and that was the point where I feel that there was a lot of potential in the app side, and I wanted to build and understand how app products you know will take off in India. So I got into app side with Alchemia Tech. It was an Indo-French joint venture where we were trying to build a social browser. Like think of it uh, like a Snapchat on top of Chrome, but built for mobile first browsers, like
Okay.
mobile first users. Uh, and while I was building that as my last stint, I became father,
Oh,
and that's when the journey
that's
of
the
BabyG
inception.
started. Uh, I got this idea when I first, started looking at help for, for myself. I went into platforms which were out there in India. Most of them were like communities where one parent was asking questions, other parents were answering. And, what I got to understand is like almost 85% of the brain development in babies take place in the first 3 years. So that was very interesting. And I said, okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more what's happening. So I
Right.
started, looking into the web with little or diminishing, uh, support ecosystem, especially for the working parents. We felt that it's the right time to build something which is not just available on Google where you just go for information, but build something which is a program which is coaching you or hand holding you as a parent and taking you through these first 3 years, like month on month, what you need to understand about your baby, how do you process their development, what is happening with them, and how you can spend those 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of quality time
Mm-hmm.
and contribute to their, support their development and contribute to their future. So with that idea, we said, okay, let's explore it. And I think in 2020, we started exploring, talking to parents, understanding what was the problem at the roots. So that was the point where we got convinced, and I left what I was doing and got into this along with Apurva and Priyanka. So
Awesome.
I take care of the product, being a product guy throughout my career. Apurva takes care of all the relationships with the content experts, like all the child experts who help us to develop the content. And Priyanka takes care of the production. She comes from the production background where she has worked with leading enterprises like Disney, Pixar, or Audi and Merz, those kind of brands, and build content for them.
Got it.
So that's how we formed the three people team, and now we are close to 7 people.
Awesome. Great. Would love to know what is Baby G, right? In your own words, right? I've gone through a website. I understand something, but it's always good to hear from the founder. If you have to explain it to me in a tweet or maybe in a short description, what is Baby G? How will you explain it to me?
Well, it's your your partner in the first 3 years, a coach for your baby's development and for your own journey with the baby.
Understood. Got it. So it helps me become a better parent. If I have a newborn, it helps me become a better parent.
Yes, it'll shoulder your responsibilities along with you and you know, give you the right guidance and a program that you can act upon.
Now, once you had the idea, right? I'm pretty sure at the start you'd be looking at something, because I like the framework you gave. This year we were focused on doing this. Second year we were focused on doing something else. This year we are focused on something else, right? When you looked at it, did you also have a North Star every year with, hey, are we moving in right direction or not? Because when we build it, it becomes it's very easy to get lost in few other things, right? Sometimes some positive feedback, negative feedback. You keep building features, churning out new things, right? Was there a metric that you used to focus at the start? Was there a is there a North Star that you focus today? Can you probably take us through some of the metrics that you have been looking at and currently look at?
I mean, I'll share my journey, but I'm sure that every journey is different.
Yeah,
It's like,
sure.
you go to the battle and the terrain you'll get, will be very different from the other person's terrain. So you
Yeah.
take whatever is useful. So we didn't have any North Star at the beginning. We had
Mm-hmm.
a couple of guiding principles. So
Sure.
first is that, we assess the market size and we
Mm-hmm.
realize that this will work if we make it at a global scale, right?
Got it.
The kind of market that, is out there and the kind of business that we want to build, it has to be a global business. So that was one. And second was, whatever we do, it has to be done with a very nimble and small team. Like, we have to be really, really small at the same time, super productive to build it, right? So we cannot do something which needs us to, do that same thing again and again. So we said, okay, there are two guiding principles we put in place. One, if we are building something, it has to be global. If it is not
Okay.
global, we do not do, at least in the first phase.
Mm-hmm.
Second was, whatever we are building, it has to be scalable. So if the scalability is not system driven, it's not something that we should get into on
Got
day
it.
zero, or at least in the first couple of years. If whatever we are building is not suitable to the global markets, let's park it. For example, someone said, hey, vaccines are not there. We didn't have vaccines or vaccine tracker. We had it, all the data and the research behind, and if someone asked, we give it over chat. But the reason we didn't have it in the beginning was it is very specific to the country, right?
Right.
And to customize it to various countries were very tough uh, at that scale, right? So we said, okay, whatever is not part of the scalability metrics, we chuck it off or park it and separately find a way to serve. So that helped us to come to a tech approach as well. We said, okay, if this is the principle, then let's build it in a way where we have a global layer of content and then we have a local layer of content. Whatever is the global layer, we have to make sure that it is done on the priority one and it is done for the, you know, uh, with the taste of the global audience. And the local layer is the content that we will do when we are focusing keenly or actively for a specific market, right? So that's how we divided our tech and content and product strategy, guided with these two principles. Now we have North Star, like, when we launched our app in early 2022, we crossed close to like 250,000 install base in the first year.
Okay.
And that time our North Star was to just look at the engagement, look at how people are using the app, what they need, and
Mm-hmm.
like basically the product engagement was the North Star. Like, how do you continue to give more value to the user?
Right.
And we were not focused on anything else. We said we just need to give more value to the users. Whatever is giving value, um, additional value to our users, we build it. Whatever is not, we remove it. So it was all hypothesis driven. But at the same time, our board was full of experiments, and we said, okay, then these are the 10 things for this month. We put it, check it, and if it is working or not, decide and bring it out or keep it in, right?
Got it.
So each experiment has to have a like a
Hypothesis.
life.
Right.
Okay, this is the life of this experiment. In this life cycle of the experiment, we get the result and we keep it or not keep it, and we continue to build the value. And then
Got it.
this year the revenue started taking the front, and
So
we said,
sorry to
now
cut
we
you.
introduce.
Did you? Yeah. So currently, if I understand, you have a subscription that is there. So when did you launch the subscription part of it? Just
So we started tinkering with it in Jan Feb, and March is when we full-fledged launched it out.
got it, got it. So it was not at the start of it. Was the app free to use, or
Yes,
at the
yes.
time of launch? Got it.
The app was free to use because primarily first we were still building the product.
Mm-hmm.
Second, our the product gives a lot of benchmarking. For example, if your baby is 12 months, right?
Hmm.
Now, instead of comparing with your neighbor's baby, you can instantly generate a report for your baby,
Mm-hmm.
benchmarked with 10,000 babies or 20,000 babies of 12 months who are
Mm-hmm.
across the world, right? So that kind of benchmarking was possible only if we had a lot of people coming in and
Got it.
using
Got
the
it.
app. So
Makes
we kept
sense.
it free to create our the initial base on which we could take the things and algorithms for.
Correct, correct. Got it. No, that makes sense. By the way, you are a product guy. We in product have this kind of, between acquisition, retention, and monetization, right? Most of our life goes in that, right? So just trying at this point, because we are discussing monetization as well. Is there something, can you give us an idea of the scale, okay, which at which you are operating? Maybe more idea on the customer base, from which geography you get more traction, right? Wherever you can share numbers, fine. If you can share percentages or some ideas, right, that's also fine. The idea here I'm trying to kind of get is, if somebody is understanding this space, or maybe understanding the way monetization layer can be put when you're in a subscription business, right? What are the couple of things that can happen? So just trying to understand that part, customer base, and those details, if you can share.
Sure. So this changed for us when we got into monetization. Our user base, as we see, was heavy on India in
Mm-hmm.
2022 last year. Uh, but when we look at the monetization, almost 70 to 80% comes from US, UK, Canada, Australia. Right, these four
Okay.
countries contribute majority, and India also contribute, but it's not the leading one. Right.
Got it.
So that's the distribution, on the revenue or the subscription side. We saw some good pickup in India in a different way, and the plan for India market was also different. Like when we started our experiments for the first 3 months, we were just learning like which country is, how are they, uh, going to
Paving.
respond to
Yeah.
the subscription, etc.
Correct.
Uh, and we realized early on that we had to have different strategies for different markets, and at the same time, the last 6 months, and even today, like if you see my board here, right, it's full of these are all experiments. Like
Right.
when we were doing product, it was all product experiments. When we are doing monetization, it's all monetization experiments, which are
Right.
either on the acquisition side or on on the product or in-app experience side or on the marketing side.
Correct.
So it's all a series of experiments, and now on the construct that we have got, we see that majority of our revenue comes from these 4 5 countries. We are at a scale of around 10K monthly revenues now. Like we just started around March, let's say, which was pretty small that time, but we have grown, like our conversions have grown almost 3 to 4x from the point
Okay.
where we started.
Got
So
it.
for us, this year is not about scaling. This year is to fine tune our unit economics before we scale. So like you sharpen your sword before you start going to cut the whole jungle or approach the whole market at a large scale.
I have a question here, right? Just asking this one. Did you currently, if I see, right, it's around you have a free trial, right? Did you experiment around this model as well, that hey, maybe can we do something around ads, or do we have something like we'll have a free to use app for few countries, others will have different, or maybe around pricing, let's say India pricing is going to be very different, we want to grow the business but the CAC is much lower, so we'll keep pricing. Can you share some of the experiments, let's say around monetization, because these are fresh ones?
I think there are a lot of experiments that we did. I mean, this is the part where we stop remembering what gave us what results, so we have to keep a list.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think the easiest or the low hanging fruits, are at the onboarding.
Onboarding
Uh,
stage, correct.
so let's go back one step before, like how you look at the experiments, right?
Hmm.
So you have your acquisition, as you said, and you have your retention, and then you have monetization, right?
Right.
Now, generally, what we do is we look at when we look at the product, we start building the product and we build the features, and then we build the marketing for it. Start acquiring users, and they come, and we expect them to pay for it. Now, in this journey, if you further break, the marketing communication is the starting point. It's just like a
Correct.
trailer of the movie. There's nothing else in it, right? If someone likes the trailer, if someone likes the plot, they will come to your app, right? Once they are on your on the store, like App Store or Google Store, that's where you get the first opportunity to experiment. This experiment bucket is like ASO, App Store optimization bucket, where you say once someone comes, right, how I can convince them to download my app, how
Correct.
many of them I can convince to download. And the complexity that comes is that every culture is different. So the
Right.
people in India may be behaving differently, maybe looking for something different, and they are expecting or understand things very differently, right? Or even the preference for the features may be different. For example, in our case, baby trackers where we track feeding, sleep, poopy, etc. That is not a popular feature in India, but it's one of the
Hmm.
most popular feature in the West,
Okay. Okay.
right? So here, as I said, the lowest hanging fruit, lies in the experiments at the uh, top of the funnel. So your top of the funnel first starting point is your App Store or Play Store listing. How you optimize that, how much you can experiment there, and there are plenty of research there on what should you experiment with. But the highest impact that you get as an app, like there are web products which
Hmm.
are different
Hmm.
funnel, but for the app, the highest impact is with your name and your screenshots, and
Right.
maybe with
Correct.
the description. With this itself, there's a lot of variations you will see in the conversion rates.
Wow. Yeah. Store conversions, correct.
So if you're spending or if you're getting people organically, the first thing you need to do is optimize your top of your funnel. If 40% people are converting versus 60 people are converting, it'll make a huge difference to you, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So that's your first starting area of listing down the experience. After they decide, okay, 60% of them decided that, hey, I want to download this app. They came to your app onboarding. Now your product has to be uh, like they need to just understand your product. For example,
Hmm.
if I go into the mall, if I do not know, first time I'm going to the mall, I just don't know which shop is at what place, right? Where is the garment section, where is the food section, where is the cafeteria, etc. So the moment we get into the app, we have to introduce the app. At the same time, we have to be careful that we are not overdoing it or doing it in a way that they even don't recall anything. For example, the traditional way of showing the screenshot has been given away for the new way of engaging, and you know it entirely depends on the category of your app. For example, a social app will try to get them inside and not give them any onboarding or anything at the beginning, versus a health tech app which will try to get a personalized information format
Correct.
in place before they make the features in front of,
Correct.
like before they stitch or reveal the features. So, keeping aside the fact that it can actually vary depending on the industry, but your onboarding has to be one of the primary areas you experiment.
Right.
Experiment with how you explain, experiment with how you collect the information, experiment with how long it is and how short it is, and experiment by uh, if you are into the monetization stage, if you are monetizing with a subscription model, by introducing the subscription in the onboarding, and that itself
Hmm.
will be the one of the most low hanging fruits you'll ever find in the app
Correct.
business. Like
Right.
making the changes on the onboarding will probably get you 50% of the result
Hmm.
in your entire journey of optimization. So around 15 to 20% of the fine tuning and improvement can happen if you do good number of experiments on your store
Onboarding.
listing.
Yeah.
store
Okay,
listing.
so through store listing first.
50%
50% on
of the
onboarding
game
is
is
onboarding.
about onboarding. Because,
Right.
you know, just think of it, right? If I get inside any building, any hospital, even in offices, if I first time I go to office, new office you go to, right? You're trying to understand who sits where, what is happening, what department sits here, whom should I talk to, right? You're trying to
Right.
understand.
Correct.
The the HR try to introduce you to all those departments so that
Right.
you don't have to spend energies, right? You're saving the energy of the user. And
Exactly.
once they understand, they'll be comfortable with your, you know, with your app, and then start exploring. Now the third stage comes the product experience, which is it helps more on the retention part, because now it's the time to deliver. Like I said, oh, I have the best mall. You come, it looks flashy, so someone say, oh, that mall looks big and nice, I'll go inside. Then I go inside, I didn't get lost, so I did a good onboarding. Now I need to make sure that when they go to cafeteria, right, they find the right food also. They
Correct.
find the right movie, or the kind of clothes they were looking for. So I need to make sure that the product works, and that's
Experience
where
is
the
great.
retention strategy will come in picture. uh, Although if you are into experiments for monetization, there are a lot of monetization experiments which are possible on the product. They're linked. So there are two parts of how onboarding is done currently in most of the apps. One is where you come, whatever onboarding they see, and they land on the home page, right? And that's where you'll have some coach marks. The second, thought process or the style of onboarding that we have seen is about how you create a pipeline for the user to experience one thing at a time. Like there's a pathway inside the product where they are not looking at everything, but they are going through a specific route and then exploring all the features or the things on that particular route.
Right.
This is like basically journey based product exploration. When you do journey based product exploration, and it may apply to certain products, it may not apply. Uh, that gives a very different understanding than how users will themselves explore, right? For example, in our case, activities is one of the most used features. But what we saw is that there's a very high correlation between the subscription and the people who fill up the milestones,
Got it. Yeah.
right? So when we were leading the users on the home page, they were exploring it their way and they were using one specific feature or two specific feature. But when we created a journey, the behavior changed and it shifted in the way that the users were getting more value of the product.
Got
And
it.
in turn,
Understood.
our subscriptions also were improved. It's the same
Understood.
product.
Understood.
We
Yeah.
didn't do any changes there. So it's just the experiments placed in the product. And then you can have monetization experiments where you can have discounting, etc., like based on the journey. But those are all data driven. Like once you know the data, then the data will tell, hey, there's something to be done here. Maybe put a hypothesis and check it out.
This is super interesting, Burma. I think I really love the fact that you've broken down experiment where you should work, which are the areas of maximum impact. Onboarding, you have gone deeper. And I really think that, onboarding, you're very right. Sometimes you need to build those guardrails to ensure that the users or customers move in one direction, but sometimes the guardrails become too restrictive and they find it, hey, I mean, I want to explore it on my own. So you have to find the right balance, and mostly it is the experiment that tells you whether you're moving them in right direction, helping them, or you're just overdoing it, right? Let them be explorers. So that's totally true. I think in all of the products, all of the places we go, onboarding is something. There is so much of value if you do not experiment and get your onboarding right. Beat any product. We are into SaaS, we are into software. Here also, if onboarding is not right, it creates, if it is a gaming app, it is an educational app, whichever way, right? Onboarding is definitely one of the key areas.
I mean, Alex, I'll tell you, like we had few experiments which we debated and we said, this is totally not intuitive to do.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't think it'll ever work.
I was actually
And
going to ask this question that, can you talk about one of the experiments, some mistakes, some learnings? Great. Please, bring it on.
yeah, so I mean, there were cases where we were like, why will even this work, right? Why it is even the experiment board, like we call it experiment board. So why it is even there, right? And it was, no one was convinced, but still we had put in, because we got to know that, okay, maybe it will happen. But when we did it, it made the most important, jump in the whole cycle that we have done. So what we need to do is, like, the key learning was that what we think as product guys, what we think as
Right.
marketing guys, versus how the users behave, it may be irrational to you, or it totally may not make sense. But if the data is saying that it makes sense, it's worth testing it out, and then you decide whether you want to keep it. Like, let the data decide whenever there's an argument. If someone is saying, hey, this is less likely to work, see how much effort it is. If it is not too much effort, if you can control it, then put it out fast, check it, and take it back if it is not working, right? But you'll get the
Right.
surprise results, like the Easter eggs in these kind of experiments. Like, we got our
Correct.
Easter egg in the experiment where we had lowest confidence.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Totally. Totally. So just thank you so much for sharing that, Birma. I think I can see some good clarity in your thought process, and I am assuming this is the third venture. You have given it a lot of time, right? You have been with startups, so you understand a lot of things much better. Is there a message that you would like to give to early stage, right, founders who are just at a pre-launch stage, who are building something very new? Is there something that you can share with them that will help them?
yeah, definitely. I mean, all this is not my own learning. There are a lot of people who has helped me, especially the people who have walked this journey ahead of me. Like, the guys who have done 0 to 1 has helped me in 0 to 1. The
Mhm.
guys who are in 1 to 10 are helping me to figure out the next stage. So what I'll say is that you need to, whatever business you are in, right? Uh, you need to find the people who are non-competing with you, and then just learn from them. Like, just take half an hour in a month or 1 hour in a month with them, and see what experiments they have run. So look at the people who can teach you all these, so that you can have a longer and more precise list of experiments. Like, some of the experiments are done by others, and they said, don't do this, this will fail. Okay, we tried them and it failed, and that gave us confidence that, hey, there's a value in looking at the experiments and bouncing them, and see what all are no to do. Like, don't do, even don't waste your time, right? And even if we do, what impact it can achieve, right?
Awesome. That's a very wonderful advice, Birma. We have to run experiments. We have everything. We have to do more with less. It's always good to ask people, reach out to industry expert. And I've seen, by the way, this is one of the things that I've seen in startup ecosystem. If you reach out, people are always there to help. So
Yes.
that's a great advice, Birma. Uh, Lovely conversation. If you ask me, I have myself learned a lot today in terms of experimentation and the thought that can go into it, and definitely going to put few of these things into action. Always good to have companies like BabyG, or work with them, with the founders, and help them grow. So it's fantastic having you on conversation today.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye
Pleasure,
bye.
pleasure conversation.